It feels like an age since Sega announced the first wave of New Era, New Energy titles, but finally, some 20 months on from the reveal, the first game has arrived, Shinobi Art of Vengeance, courtesy of Streets of Rage 4 developer Lizardcube. Art of Vengeance has the unenviable task of leading the line as Sega reignite their old IP for a new audience, all while trying to stay true to the formula that made the original games so timeless. Is this the revenge that Shinobi fans have been waiting for, or will it forever dance in the shadows? Let's find out.
Shinobi Art of Vengeance launched on Friday the 29th of August worldwide on basically everything, both Switch consoles, PS4 and 5, Xbox One, Series S and X, so no matter where you play your modern games, you should be able to jump on in. Just like for the demo, I played myself on the Xbox One X, while James the SEGAHolic played on Xbox Series S. What we found was a Shinobi game that embraces the series traditions whilst daring to be something new. There are a lot of callbacks to previous Shinobi games here, and I feel like it's worth revisiting what a Shinobi game is. Why? Because a lot of criticism of this game that I read is how it isn't a true Shinobi game. So let's have a quick recap of the history of the franchise. The original Shinobi launched in arcades in 1987 and was an instant smash hit. Borrowing heavily from Namco's Rolling Thunder that came the year before, it featured predominantly projectile-based combat, two-tier platforming and hostages to save. It was ported to pretty much everything under the sun by various third parties, but the best port would be the one that Sega did in-house for the Sega Master System. Here, the mechanics of the game changed drastically, removing the requirement to save hostages and adding a health bar. Shadow Dancer would follow next in the arcade, changing the story and the protagonist but retaining the original game's gameplay, while at home the same year, Revenge of Shinobi came to the Sega Mega Drive. Revenge would jettison the two-tier platform layouts and lean closer to the mechanics of the Master System port, gaining critical and commercial success in the process. Shadow Dancer also came to the Mega Drive, but it was different again, retaining the one-hit kills but changing the game design entirely. After that came the Cyber Shinobi on the Master System, which was a rare misstep for the series, though this Sega produced entry did eschew the kunai and shurikens for a focus on melee combat. The GG Shinobi games followed that, with their stage select and ninja ability features making them more like Mega Man games structurally. Shinobi 3 expanded the gameplay of Revenge of Shinobi, and to be brutally honest, between those games and the SMS port of the original is the only time the series has been entirely consistent, hence why I feel it rounds out one of Sega's greatest trilogies. Shinobi X, or Shinobi Legions, or Shin Shinobi Den followed after that and changed things up yet again, particularly with its digitised visuals and guard, combo and dash mechanics. From there, Shinobi moved into non-Sega consoles, with two 3D melee-focused PlayStation 2 games, a bizarre Revenge of Shinobi title on the Game Boy Advance, and then finally Shinobi 3D, another melee-focused title with a 2.5D viewpoint. The series has continued to evolve since day one, where the Master System port changed the mechanics from the arcade game from which it was ported just 7 months later. So, melee-focused combat, upgradable abilities, hostages, non-pixel graphics, cutscenes, one-hit kills and life bars interchangeably, Shinobi has done all of these before, multiple times. Art of Vengeance does not stray from the formula by including or removing any of these features. What characterises the series is high-speed ninja action and a high difficulty level, and Art of Vengeance most certainly continues this tradition. It is absolutely a bona fide Shinobi game, and Lizardcube have included almost everything from homages to classic bosses to honour the series tradition. The question is, does it do it well enough? Well, first, let's take a look at the graphics and sound.
You can't help but be in awe of how Art of Vengeance looks. The art style will be instantly recognisable to anyone who's played Streets of Rage 4. In a previous SEGAGuys podcast that we recorded with Sega Lord X prior to the New Era New Energy announcement, Mel said that he'd love to see a new Shinobi with the art style of Okami. and with Art of Vengeance, he almost got his wish. Okay, Okami has a cel-shaded Japanese ink wash look, while Art of Vengeance uses a 2D hand-drawn aesthetic, similar to a comic book or anime. However, both games reject realism in favour of a stylised, brushwork representation of Japanese folklore to tell their stories, with slick animation and fluid movement bringing the on-screen characters to life. Speaking of animation, it's a work of art and incredible in motion. Musashi moves across the screen with all the elegance and grace of a ninja, swift, efficient, deadly. Every dodge, roll, throw and slash brings Musashi to life as he leaps from enemy to enemy, chaining attacks and navigating obstacles. The special moves, ninpo and ninjutsu abilities are executed with visual flair, and whether you're throwing fire in an enemy's face or chucking a giant shuriken across the screen, they feel as powerful as they are important. All this art style and animation though would be for nothing if the stages themselves weren't up to par, and thankfully Art of Vengeance environments are stunning. The backgrounds almost demand your attention. There's so much detail packed into them, it's easy for your eye to wander mid-combat. From lush forests and burning villages, to golden temples and neon-lit streets, the stages and environments in Art of Vengeance are, arguably, the unsung hero of the game. It is without doubt an absolutely stunning looking game, at least to my eyes. Gamers who cut their teeth on Call of Duty, Gears of War and Grand Theft Auto 5 may sneer at such an art style, but for those of us who appreciate simpler times, Art of Vengeance feels like Lizardcube have taken a game from our childhood and modernised it without losing that classic Shinobi feel. The return of Shinobi didn't just need to look good, it had to sound good too. And Art of Vengeance doesn't disappoint, with Sonic Mania composer T. Lopes and none other than Sega legend Yuzo Koshiro lending their talents to score Musashi's latest adventure. Lopes is a massive childhood Sega fan, and it shows. Commenting on the opportunity to work on Shinobi and alongside Koshiro, Lopes said, "As a huge childhood fan of the Shinobi series and Yuzo Koshiro's music, it's nothing less than a dream come true for me to lead the OST for this astounding new entry and be joined by one of the biggest VGM legends in history. Life is good." For me, the hallmark of Sega games, aside from the gameplay, has always been the music. It's always astounded me how they managed to create such a unique, memorable and iconic score for each and every game, regardless of the genre. With Yuzo Koshiro and T. Lopes on board, this trend continues with some incredible arrangements. In terms of sound effects and voice work, both do the job required. There's nothing exceptional to report here. The voice acting won't win any awards, but again it does the job that's needed. That said, I did feel there was a little bit too much dialogue, with bosses making the classic movie mistake of mouthing off about their evil deeds and master plans, only to get their arses kicked. The music is so good though, you can forgive the rest. All we need now is the Sega sound team to put the OST up on Spotify.
For the most part, the gameplay experience is identical to that of the demo. You get the intro, which delivers a backstory not unlike the Shinobi games of old, with some static art that also evokes many images from the series past. We launch into the game with Naoko apparently pregnant now, and Joe Musashi about to begin a training session with his young apprentices when his clan is attacked by the evil E&E Corp, headed up by Lord Ruse. The first stage is identical in layout to the demo, but many of the abilities are moved to the later levels. It is now not possible to 100% complete that stage without skills that Joe learns from later on in the game, which is a good thing. It gives those of us who mastered the demo a new reason to explore. There's also plenty of gameplay mechanics to learn as the game slowly opens up, so you don't really miss those abilities that Sega and Lizardcube teased us with in the demo. Joe has a robust moveset, even at the first stage. You have light and heavy melee attacks which you can chain into combos, a button for your kunai projectiles which echoes the original games, and a jump button which, obviously jumps, and then there's a button that prepares your execution and magic attacks. The execution function was something I hadn't quite grasped in the demo, but in the full game, it really clicked. It revolves around building up the white stun bar on your enemies until it's full, and the combination of the two shoulder buttons sends Joe immediately in their direction, ending their lives in a bloody slash. Once I got to grips with it, I loved it. Some moves work better than others, for example kunai attacks work better than most melee ones, and when executed, enemies drop plenty of rewards such as kunai, currency and health boosts. Combat charges other moves as well, such as the Ninpo magic attacks, which have plenty of unique properties, as well as the more powerful ninjutsu moves which mimic those from the earlier Shinobi games, such as filling the screen with fire, giving Joe some invulnerability and replenishing his health. Suffice to say that all of these components work together perfectly to create an ebb and flow to the platforming and combat that is really difficult to put down. As the game progresses, you earn new moves, new abilities and can even shop for buffs of all kinds. The shop itself works well too. You have to level it up with hidden clan sigils to unlock the really good stuff, so you can't just make Joe overpowered right from the start. You can even customise your load from the player menu, where you can also see the map and check on your skills. The gameplay is absolutely exquisite. Throughout my entire playtime, I really couldn't levy a complaint against how the game controls. It wasn't until after I'd rolled the credits that I saw that some people were bemoaning the lack of damage or knockback when touching enemies, and that's true. But it didn't hamper the experience for me, even if it's a feature that it only shares with the Cyber Shinobi. People concerned about the difficulty can really be at ease. Sure, this isn't the most difficult Shinobi game, but it isn't especially easy either. You get infinite lives and a decent checkpoint system, which I feel is necessary given the game's length, and if you feel that the game is too easy with those, you've got the arcade mode to fall back on with all sorts of challenges that come with it. Then of course there's the challenge of finding all the secrets and activities throughout the game world. Uncovering some of the secrets sees Joe having to navigate some extremely tricky layouts. And then you have the combat focused elite squads and the Anku Rifts, which are themselves incredibly challenging platforming sections that rival those of the classic games. Make no mistake, especially outside of the main story, this game has teeth. That being said, although the stage design is top notch, I did find some bosses a little too easy. The overall difficulty is kind of up and down, and while there's a definite curve to the main stage design, bosses go from tough to pushover to solid seemingly at random. But let's be honest, if that's the worst thing I have to say on the gameplay, it's doing a bang up job. The only other gripe that I have isn't so much directed at the gameplay itself, but the way that the presentation occasionally intrudes on it. I wish play didn't stop every time that I collected an item. It breaks the whole flow of the game. Like, I know this is an Oboro relic, I've collected about 50 of them, don't stop the gameplay just to tell me that. Overall though, the gameplay is absolute best in class. There are some very minor annoyances, but they don't detract from what is arguably the best that the series has ever played. Shinobi Art of Vengeance is a triumph of gameplay, sound and visual design. As soon as I got my hands on it on release day, I just simply couldn't put it down, and I'm still playing it now. It's not perfect, the lack of enemy knockback is, I think, a little odd, and the flow of the game is broken too often with item collection alerts and dialogue. Quite honestly, I think that the voice acting is decent, and to keep Joe Musashi as a mute is perfect, but there's still too much of it. I don't need a cutscene for Chio to tell me to take Ruse out, the game was showing me that already. But those are just small grumbles when Shinobi Art of Vengeance is looked at as a whole. A beautifully designed piece of software with an art style perfectly suited to its themes, which is used wonderfully throughout, a soundtrack by T-Lopes and Yuzo Koshiro that hits the highs we know that they're capable of, and gameplay that brings Joe Musashi hacking and slashing into the year 2025. It's a bold and new, yet reverent and nostalgic adventure for Joe, with stunning set pieces mixed with callbacks such as rescuing ninja hostages. Any Shinobi fan should be grabbing this as soon as they can, and even if you're dubious of the art design or certain gameplay components, it's still well worth trying, because I feel like you'll be pleasantly surprised. If this is the first step for the future of Shinobi, then I'm excited to see what the future holds. Welcome back, Joe Musashi.
The fact is, when it comes to resurrecting old IP, Sega can't win. If they'd stayed close to the original games, they'd have been called lazy and accused of being stuck in the past. Change it too much though, and they'd face a different accusation from retro gamers, this time of breaking something that wasn't broken and betraying the roots of the series. And I won't lie, when the brand new Crazy Taxi comes out, I can imagine me falling into this category. Art of Vengeance is a triumphant return for the franchise. Yes, the combat is far removed from the original games, but it's not to the game's detriment. The action is fast, the combat is fluid, and the visuals are stunning, and the music is memorable. It's a brilliant package, and one that every Sega and or Shinobi fan should play, even more so given the price. A massive thank you to our friends at Sega Europe for providing us with review codes, as well as codes for our members giveaway. We hope that Stiff Peaks and Jessica from Jessica's Retro Lunacy are enjoying the game as much as we are. But what are your thoughts on Shinobi Art of Vengeance? Have you played it? Do you plan to buy it? Are you undecided? Let us know in the comments below. This has been James the SEGAHolic and Dan the Mega Driver here at the Sega Guys. Thanks as always for watching, and until next time, we'll see you on the Sega side.